Hello, everyone. This is Dwayne Golden, and I'm excited tonight. I wasn't feeling so good last night as I've been battling this, some sort of a bug. Thank God I don't have a temperature, so I don't think it has anything to do with the coronavirus. But nevertheless, I'm trying to take care of myself here because it's important that I can communicate with you to get you up to speed before we step into launch. There are some exciting, I believe, updates coming that will be a blessing for you. But these specific trainings I'm doing this week are for you. They work no matter what company you're with. So if you're not a part of Ingreso Cybernetico, hold on to your hat. You're going to be okay. But this information that I'm sharing with you, it's essential. If you're going to build your house upon the sand, well, it doesn't matter. You can go get anything you want. But if you're going to build it and you want it to last, well, several things need to happen. You can't leave where you won't go. So if you have a company or someone just teaching you how to make something last and nothing they do lasts, it's a waste of time. It's important to actually know what principles are being used. What's the recipe? What's happening, the thing that you can make yours last year after year after year, and what's different. So that's what we're going to be going over. But can't do that without telling you to get ready as we have tomorrow night. It's all about development. Today, we're talking about how to build a championship team, you can build your team. So no matter what happens with any company, anything anyone else is doing, you can go and grow. Where you don't have to constantly find new people all the time because you destroy those relationships. Where you can actually, you and your team, not just you, but you and your leaders are all creating wealth together. And those leaders are getting people doing the same thing themselves. How does this all happen? You can find it out tonight. But tomorrow night, the development, it's so important. You need to be able to develop yourself and then, of course, develop a team, which we're talking about tonight about how to create that team. Now, tomorrow, you're going to learn Thursday night, the 22nd or 23rd, tonight's the 22nd, how to build your team. So let's go ahead and get started. And I want to be sure to kick off with this idea of I'm going to talk about tonight about 4 different specific elements that you want to incorporate into building a strong team. Some of you want it to happen magically just by emailing people. Some of you want to do it based on broken promises. I promise you, I'll do all the work for you. And then others, you tell them, you don't have to do anything. I'm just going to create a system. You're all going to use my system. You're going to use my portal. You're going to come up with all kinds of things, but that's not a long-term way of building great wealth. That's a way to get you over the hump enough to pay this month's bills on other people's backs, misusing people. You don't have to do that. We're going to go over these 4 elements. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to break them down into 4 specific pieces. Now, to be honest with you, I have about an hour and a half on each one of these elements in the training that I've done, A to Zoom of building a championship team. I'm actually turning that into a home study course that you can actually have. But right now, I'm going to break it down into these elements tonight in this webinar, and going to just give you the underlying elements so you can have it and work with that for now. So, element number 1 we're going to talk about is communication. What kind of communication is needed? Is it passive communication, where a lot of you consider yourself leaders, but you don't want to deal with people, you don't want to talk to anyone, you don't want to know anything about them, you don't want to deal with their drama and all those things? It's almost like the person that wants to be a parent, but they don't want to deal with the kid. Get babysitters, send them to school, send them to camp, but oh God, I don't want to deal with them. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't make good kids, but it doesn't make a good team either, of any type. So we're going to talk about communication. Then we're going to talk about unification. This idea of unifying around the cause and the vision. It's amazing. People expect to have a great athletic team or a family or things where everyone's disjointed. Everyone eats at a different time. Everyone has a different thing of their own, and no one's unified. There's no unifying core or nucleus that people get around. You're going to find out tonight the importance of unification and why that's essential. And it has a role in building a team that will last, so that your income will be certainly many times higher than anything you've ever made from a job, right? When you plug in these elements into growing your own team. You're going to find out tonight about something that's not talked about often, but it needs to be talked about. And a lot of it's lost, of course, in this generation. That's this idea of imagination. A lot of the imagination's gone now because of the years and years of hours and hours in front of the television. Now, which becomes day after day, hours and hours in front of your monitor. The monitor of a phone screen, iPad screen, computer screen, surfing and seeing what everyone's doing, socializing. So there's not much room left for imagination, but boy, do you need it. And we're going to find out exactly what role it has and what connection it has to your income. Lastly, we're going to talk about implementation. Here's where a lot of folks are weak. Million ideas, right? They're not weak on the imagination, but they're very weak in the implementation, right? They're always announcing things they're going to do and never do it. They never carry it through. They spend their life saying, wish I would have, or they beat me to it. I was going to do it, right? Well, if that's you, don't worry. We're going to talk about tonight about the importance of implementation. I'm going to give you some principles on how to do it. Of course, in my home study course, a lot of that stuff I cover in great detail. But for now, let's go ahead and, by the way, you may even actually have my CD series. This also is a 4 CD series that I did some 13 years ago, which is about, I think, 6.5, 8 hours of training, right? But tonight, we're going to go over it in great detail. Are you ready? We're already past the hour, and I want to just go ahead and let you know, hello, I trust tonight is good. Get ready. If you have anyone you believe should be here, send them to it. Now, let's go ahead and break it down and talk about this idea of communication. It's so interesting. You go to a therapist, first thing they're going to say is you usually can trace the problems in the marriage, in the friendship, in the relationship with the children. You can usually break it down and find its underlying core issues are directly related to communication. You know, you've got the person that's more of they speak the communication of expressions like this, that, and the other, and then they say, I did say it. I did say thank you, right? But you have that person who's not very verbal. Then you have those who are over-verbal, like myself. I'm an over-verbal person. But what's really important is, if you're going to have a team, somebody needs to lead it. Unless you're on the team. But if it's you building your team, because the person that has a team makes the most money, you want to build a team. Nothing wrong with it at all. You can build a team and be on one. How about that? Well, it's going to require some great communication. That communication is going to begin with yourself. You've got to communicate appropriately with yourself first. Self-communication is so important. I learned this as a teenage young lad. I learned that there were people that have gone before me, great leaders, who were in the military, some who were just out fighting for their life in the wilderness. They learned to communicate with themselves for survival. Well, I want you to note, if you're going to be a great communicator with a team, with leaders, with others, with upline, downline, corporate, it's going to be essential that you know how to communicate with yourself first. There are times you need to encourage yourself. Some of you spend all day whining and crying about no one called me, nobody cares, I didn't have anybody, right? You're just a big victim, and so your communication with yourself already stinks. It smells to high heaven. I learned it early on. As I've heard one of my mentors when I was about 11 or 12 would say, and he wasn't a personal mentor, I to get the cassette tapes and listen. Some of you don't know what a cassette tape is. And he said, there are times he'd leave himself a message a couple days in advance. Open his briefcase, and when he gets down to it, hey, you can do this. This is for you. He would encourage himself before he got into the interview, encourage himself before he got to the table, the negotiation table. Then I've heard from others who learned to leave themselves voice messages, and I've done this in the past. I would leave myself voice messages to remind myself in the dark hours when I could find no one, I could already have messages for myself. That may sound crazy to you, but it's important that you have got to get rid of this negative communication that you have with yourself, where you believe because of your gender, your color, your height, or your weight that you're a victim and everyone else gets everything and you don't. You got to get rid of that language, and you got to speak to yourself correctly that you can do anything. You will overcome it. Whatever it takes, you will apply yourself. You have got to be able to do that and not always wait for someone else. In the words of, who was that said it? I want to say, oh gosh, I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Geesh. He said, if your resources and the assistance that's greatest is coming, the things that are happening around you, right, If the majority of all the things that are happening outside of you, the end is near. If in fact, that if all the resources needed and everything that must happen for you and your business has to happen outside of you, I tell you the end is near. You have to look inside yourself. There are days when you have to work through, I'm going to lose the house. Everyone I called to help has not been there. You have to be the person that says whatever it takes. If I have to be homeless, I will do it, but I will not be there long. You have to tell yourself the right things. Now, when it comes to building a team, you have to communicate to yourself so you can be strong enough to lead others. As a parent, I have to lead my kids when I don't understand. If there's a tornado or a hurricane coming close, when my kids were younger, I had to make sure they knew Dad's here, right? I had to communicate with myself first. Whatever happens, make sure you have a pathway, make sure you can go to the basement, whatever you need to do, blah, blah, blah. What you have to do as a business leader is stop communicating the negative things so when it's time for you to lead a group of people that you can do that in the face of opposition, in the face of challenges and troubles. Everybody wants to complain about the leaders in politics. And, I'm going to tell you something. I don't care what party anyone is. It's important to have someone that really understands how to make a good decision, no matter how popular it is or not, no matter who votes or doesn't vote, and they can think on their feet, and they can be a person that can make great decisions because they communicate well with themselves. Well, then you need to do the same if you're going to be effective here in this idea of being a great team leader. Communicate with yourself. Okay, I need to make this bonus. In order for me to properly lead my people to what they should do when they first get in, I'm going to communicate with myself in a way that in my first 24 hours, I'm going to bring my first person in. And I'm not going to let Facebook surfing, CBS, HBO, I won't let anything get in the way. I'm not stopping. I'm going to bring them in. I want to show my leaders what I expect of them. And I can't do that if I don't communicate with myself first. If I don't communicate with myself first the right way, I may think I need someone to do it for me. I may say, hey, can you help me out? Can you show some affection and hook me up? So can you join my team just to help me? I'll give you the money back. You might play all kinds of games. That's not good communication. It's not great. It won't help you if you're going to build a team the right way. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of the outcome of great communication with yourself, it's the difference of you start off with just you and yourself, and then you look back in 2 or 3 months and you'll have an army following, right? And that army will have 20 to 50 new people coming in a month, and then graduate from that in just a month to go to 100 or more a month, and then 200 to 300 a month. That's what happens. Communicate with yourself. Communicate with yourself about your business, about your personal life, and certainly for every negative thought you have, you better give yourself at least 5 communications of positivity. And I recommend, for me, I like to put it in my phone. I like to put it in my schedule, my voice notes, in my car mirror, in my bathroom mirror. I will make sure it knows that by the end of the month, I will make $10,000. I mean, you have to communicate properly with yourself. Don't worry. Like I said, as I released my home study course, I already have a CD series out there that I sold. So for those of you who've been following me for years, you might have that already. But if not, it's okay. The home study course will be with video, not just audio. And you will learn how to do this. But for now, understand that you need to communicate better with yourself. Now, if you communicate better with yourself, what's next? You need to communicate better with your leaders. Now, what are you calling leaders? And here's what I recommend doing. When you're going to build a team, you don't go out trying to build the masses and try to email 10,000 people. You go find your front line. Me personally, I like the number 6. I will find 6 people who will come in at a minimum of this specific level. And I will work with them. I communicate with them daily. Because here's where your real money comes in. You can go find 20 people, or you can find 6 who, watch this now, who you share your vision with. And you tell them what you're up to and what the plan is and how you guys are going to do. You communicate that well. Here's what you do. You start, I don't care if you start at the $300 level, the $500, whatever it is, you cast this vision. You communicate with yourself first, then you go and work with them. And here's the way I do it. I make sure when I communicate, I'm communicating about me, not the company. You've known me for years. And here's what I want you to note. Not only have I been an honest person and dealt with you, I'm a family man. And here's what I want you to note. I would never bring something in your direction that would put you or your family at risk. Here's what I'm telling you. Right now, I have a plan. And in my plan, I will not. Now, by the way, I did this, right? 15 years ago, when I started home net business, I told my people I will not be going back to work. And here's what my plan is. My leaders, that's what I said to them. I actually shared it. And I said, here's the deal. And at that time, it only cost for my business, my first business, it was $140 something for $140 something, and then like $40 something a month. I said, we're going to put this into play, and here's what we're going to do. Each week, I'm going to keep you up to date. I'm going to communicate with you. I want you to understand, though, in order for this to happen, in order for you to be considered one of my front line, which is my 6 people, I want you to do what I'm doing. I'm making sure I'm getting all 6 in this first week, whatever it takes. And I just want to know, are you the person? Now, look, they didn't know what the company name is. They trusted, loved me. That's the danger of you guys that want to do it all by what you call it passive. You can't build nothing long term that way. I went out and found soldiers, and these people, we are the closest of friends today. All who have our own businesses. Because I communicated, the power of this communication after communicating with myself. I said, the idea is, I want you to become an area manager first. You need 4 in your front line, which I told them to get 6. And each of those people should have 2. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to work with you. First of all, I want to know if you are in. Here's what it costs. Number 1, I told you before, I'm not one to chase shams. You've known me for years. I've worked this job. I'm a key member of the community. What are you ready to roll with me? And if you're not, we're still going to be friends. I'm going to always love you, right? We're cool. Are you in or are you out? Well, I don't know what it is yet. Well, first of all, I've already made it clear. I will share with you what it is. I have never misled you. I am a friend of friends. You won't find anyone anywhere in the world who's going to tell you that I shysted them. So now that you got that out of the way, are you in or out? I'll share with you what it is. Are you with me? I'm going to take 6 people and I'm going to help change their life forever. Mine's going to change and so will yours. Together, I want us to build up our own business, our own company. And by the way, what that means is, my communication is so powerful. When I communicated with myself, I started my own company. I incorporated right away. So when people joined it, they joined me in my company. That way, the network marketing company that whoever I was with was not the power. I was the power. This is communication. Now, my company, many of you know, D. Golden Associates, right? But the people that I got on my team, they became a part of that team, and then they signed up for the MLM company. You understand that? Some of you are just in a hurry. You just want to get people to click a link and buy, and they don't belong to anything. Watch this. Communication. I communicated the right way. And now, with myself, now I communicate with my leaders. I found them, and I didn't. Watch this now. I told you guys, you have to know your stuff. You can't communicate with yourself if you don't know. I knew my product, right? I spent my time learning. I learned the comp plan. I learned the ins and outs. So when it was time to communicate with them, I was ready for them. When I explained to them what it was, and they had questions, I walked them through it. But at the end of the week, I was done. You get that? I was done. I have my core team, and I worked with them. Then I helped them to get their 6. I did it. We didn't have webinars in those days. I used phones. I created something called a sizzle call. I recorded the overview. Then I got to help them get their leaders. And they carried, watch this now. I duplicated the message I gave to them. I am your friend. You know me, right? Here's what I'm going to do with my business. Are you in? They did it. Now, I am being the CEO of my business. I supported it all. The company didn't give me a site. We built our own pages. But I communicated with my leaders, and that started it off. And boy, did it start off. Watch this now. Communicate with my leaders. Then I was prepared to communicate with corporate. When I needed something on behalf of my team, I'd say, listen, I got these people that came in and they're ready. I got this guy that's just close to a bonus. What does he need? What more? What's wrong? What's going on with this picture? What does he need? They said, well, if he had a little bit more BV on this side, he's going to make the bonus. I helped all of my leaders. I knew how to communicate. I was not selfish. It wasn't all about me and it was about ours. I communicated on their behalf. I said, listen, we're coming out to the annual convention. I'm going to have to rent a 15-passenger van. We're going to bring some cars. In the dates when we get there, I need you to help me with some seating arrangements, make sure lunch is set up. I did whatever I could. I knew how to communicate with corporate. Communication is powerful. Some of you, this is going to sound foreign to you, but you need to understand communication first begins with you. Learn how to communicate with yourself positively. Learn how to communicate everything you need to know about your company. If you've been in for a month or two and don't know what you have in your company, you got problems that will never allow you to be successful. You're going to always call whatever you're doing a scam. Get it down. Communicate with yourself first, the ins and outs of your product and your comp plan. Then, whatever it is about the history of your company. Now you're ready to communicate with your team. You're ready to communicate with the corporate. Communication. It's interesting. I believe communication should be all-inclusive. However it is that I normally communicate with that person, that's what I'm going to use. Plus, I'm going to blitz. So if you and I usually talk because we text together or we use Telegram, I will use that. But I still will use email messaging for my team. I will still use announcements, voice messages. I will use a brief video when I have to. For growing my team, I make sure that they get touches. Now here's something. I teach this to my corporate owners. I've got clients who own their own network marketing companies. I teach them. They've got to take care of their top leaders. They must have verbal interaction regularly. If they don't hear from them in 2 days, call them up. How's it going? What's going on? The touches are essential. You have to have a high reach and frequency with your front line. You must. This is all inclusive. You can't have a high reach and frequency if you're only using text, if you're only using email, if you're only using phone. You blitz it. This is going to grow. This is going to give you some roots so that you go from 5 to 10 people in a team to more than 500. You can't do that any other way. I don't care what these people tell you. If you didn't know, these gurus that you're following who just have massive email lists, what they do every time they join a new company, they have to let so many of those go and go get new ones because the people are done. They're following nothing but air. You can do this the right way, build it the right way. Many of you didn't know this, but these people were my front lines over the years from my first MLM company. We're the closest of friends, and many of them have been a part of my corporations, be it our ATM company, our Ingreso Classic, Ingreso the new one, and then our legal team, right? These are the same people from my network marketing company from the beginning. From the beginning. They're a part of our consulting team, our technology team. I am not joking. And to top it all off, this communication is so powerful because you're consistent with it. Instead of your family running from it, your family will run to you. I'm fortunate enough that my children and my wife have been a part of our businesses over the years because of the communication I'm talking about. Self-communication, knowing the ins and outs, and then communicating not just the vision and mission, but learning how to communicate how the products work, the comp plan, and then with my leaders. Communication. After you have established this element of communication, you want to transition directly to unification. Oh, unifying is so important. Unifying helps create the medium and the model for the communication. First of all, I'm a big person who believes in vision. Now, coming from the business world, it's important to have a strong vision. And then you have a mission that supports it and core values that determine the behaviors that you'll have while you do it. And if you don't communicate well, you can't unify people to do this. It's important to have principles that you operate by. I call these core values, right? These core values will talk about the behavior that you'll have while you're reaching out and you're implementing this vision and this mission. Watch this now. If my vision is to take my frontline leaders, that's my short-term vision, over the next 6 months to get them all over a minimum of $2,500 a month in the next 6 months. If that's my vision, right? If I'm doing that, that's going to have me probably right about $7,500 to $12,000 a month myself, if not more. But I want you to get the power of this. I need to cast that vision. Then I need to create some missions that will help me to get there. So for example, if the vision is get each of my front line to their $2,500 a month, watch this. It can go to this. Now, that means I've got to have a mission that will support it, such as if my vision is for those guys to get $2,500 a month in the next 6 months, the mission will be to help each one of them get the first 6 people and help their 6 to get their 6. So in order to do that, I need to unify everyone around the same thing. So I'm going to use a Zoom, you guys call it Zoom, a webinar platform. I'm going to use a Google Hangout. I will bring my top 6 together on a regular basis, no less than every 7 days. When I bring them together for a training, I will train them. I will work with them on what I've done to get my 6. Then I'll make myself available to help them. If you've got someone, let's get them on a Zoom. Let's see what questions they have. Let's plan out a strategy. I'll work with them. And one of the things that I've done to make mine work is I would always make sure that people are asked 2 questions. I would send them a video of the presentation and I'll ask them 2 questions. What did you like best about what you saw? And I never let my leaders deviate from that. I taught them the reason for us asking it that way. If they said, did you like it? You're opening the door up for them to lie and say that they watched it. If you ask them, what do they like best? That means they had to watch it to give you an answer. They can't just fake it. And watch this now. If they give detail as it shows that they watch it, I know where to go from there. Well, first of all, I like how much money you can make and how you get 100%. But I don't really know if it's real or not. So then I asked them, what questions do you have about what you saw? Now, if you're the leader, allow your leader to put you on a Zoom with them so you can down. And you ask your leader to be quiet while you do it. You ask these questions. And then you let them answer and you help them to get signed up with your team. That's what we did. We weren't afraid of work. We didn't say, I don't want to talk to anybody. We unified people on a conference call. You can unify them in Zoom or webinar. You can unify people even on a 3-way call. You unify people together where this vision can be cast. If you come onto our team, the people in our team, they understand if you're going to make money, we don't want anyone to fail. If you're going to come in, if we allow you to come into this team, we have a meeting every Wednesday in Zoom. So if we allow you to come into this team, we give you an opportunity to participate so you can also build this private income. Where will you be every Tuesday night? See, we knew that everything reproduces after its own kind. And what you have to do is you have to train people while you're recruiting them. So they say, well, I guess I'd be on every Tuesday at 7. I'd be on the Zoom. Yes. Before they sign. So now there's no, listen, people are like, I ain't making no money yet. You can't find them. Because people are too busy surfing and watching TV and they're binging Netflix. You have to get people to commit. It's business. It's not a social club. And if you're going to be successful, you got to unify people around the vision. And the vision shouldn't be soft. A great vision takes work to get to. And those who work at it can get there. Unify them. In the 1950s, the families unified around the dining room table. In the United States, in more cases than not, the mom would be at home and the dad would be at work. The kids were at school. At dinner time, everyone had to be cleaned up and appropriate. Let's just call this your Zoom call. The dad would come home and say, listen, so here's the deal with the dinner table. You don't talk that way at the table, son. Right? In fact, take your hat off. Young lady, they didn't have phones, but don't write notes at the dinner table. This is our time. This is our time to unify. The dad may make an announcement that, hey, I'm looking to plan a vacation for us this year. I'm excited. Maybe we can do it in August. What do you think about that, little Susie? And get an opinion from that. What do you think about that, wife or husband? You talk to your wife that way, right? You ask your son, what does he think? You get feedback. You say, so what happened in your day? What was the best thing that happened in your school today? You find out on these Zoom calls and these training what's going on. Take the successes. Any good news? By the way, I want to congratulate you, Frank. You had 2 signups this week. Congrats, man. How'd that go? What were some of the most challenging times that you had? We unify people around the same cause to see how much closer we're getting towards the vision. Celebrate the exciting milestones. Oh, look at that. Jan is already at $400 a month. She's on her way, and watch this now. What's really cool is she's scheduled on pace for $400 a month. She's not even been in a whole month. She's probably going to cross $1,000 by the end of the month. Realistically, When you work with people from where they are, it doesn't matter you want to make 20 grand a month. You got to work with people where they are. And the average human being, an additional $1,000 a month changes their life. You can't overshoot something outside of their range. Communicate with them from the ability to where they can receive your communication. So unify. You want to unify them around what you have. Make sure everyone's unified on what the products are, how the comp plan works. Then you unify them on the same vision of how to help them so they can be prepared to make that $10,000 to $12,000 a month and help their leaders to get to $2,500 a month. And you will watch this. I'm telling you, it is amazing how the results work. But unifying is essential. Being a man from the military, it was important for us to be unified around what our first sergeant would tell us. I was enlisted. I wasn't an officer. I didn't have my degree when I was in the military. I got my degree after. So they would unify us around the same call. Right? We marched to the same tune. We got an opportunity to build our strength up of loyalty and fight and protect around the same cause. So we can create go past the unattainable together as a unit. Now, as you unify using a great medium, using powerful communication, and unify around causes, learning more about each other through communication, it sets you up for the imagination. The imagination is the unsung element. Imagination, I want to talk about this in a way that it's going to sound foreign, but I want you to hang in there with me. The imagination is a way that positions you as the visionary to see the invisible. You see, you have to see the invisible before you can see the visible. Many people you talk to are only able to see the visible. That's why they go, They're sitting with their arms crossed like, yeah, right. Because they don't have, their mind has not been able to do that. Many cases, we retard our mind and our senses because of all of the entertainment that we have in our life related to our surfing and watching TV and all those things. We don't really take in much that challenges it. But we need to have imagination to see the invisible. I'll never forget it. I was sitting in the Hilton Hotel with my friend in 2011 or 12 when I launched Ingreso Cybernetico. I saw it before it ever happened. I saw the compensation plan. I saw a future where we can be in homes around the world helping single mothers and people that never had success with business to have success with business. And I love looking when I see Facebook and I see people that learn to make their money with our company and our training out there making their fortunes. I love it. It brings a tear to my eye because I saw it before it happened. But the people I brought it to couldn't see it. I'll never forget our first month. I'm going around telling people about this company, right? Nah, not for me. I don't think I'm interested. I did that. It's amazing the number of people I shared with it. First 7 months, I saw it. No one else saw it. We had our first 100 people come in after about 7.5 months. When they came in, they only spoke Spanish. No English. Nobody from America. Then, 5 months later, we've got people from North America, Europe, everywhere else trying to get in and come in and see it. I saw the vision 2 years before. I saw it when it was invisible. Did you not know? I want everyone to do this with me right now. My brother Myron, I saw him do this maybe 12 years ago. Everyone right now, fixate your mind on something you can see. Something if you're at home, if you're in the car, look at something. Find an object, something there that you can see and get your hands on that's pretty unique, right? If you're in the car, maybe the car mirror, or maybe it's the steering wheel. For me, I'm looking at this camera lens, right? I'm looking at one of my camera lenses, right? You could be looking at a microphone. Look at your monitor. Everything you see, all of the visible things you see are supported by the invisible and originated from the invisible. Someone saw it in their head first. The ability to have a lens that can zoom and zoom in and zoom out and to see at the most amazing levels, right? The monitor you have, someone saw it here first. If you're going to grow a huge team and not have imagination, it's not happening. You have to see that huge team first. I'll never forget it. My very first conference call before the webinars. 3 people on that conference call, but I saw it big one day. My first conference call, the whole first week or two. Myself, my son, and my wife. That's it. Just us 3. True story. By the end of 7 months, I had to buy other conference lines because each conference line only holds 100 people. I'd have several conference lines on to maximize, because like I said, there was no webinar at the time. Because I saw it first. It supported the visible. So by the time we're there on the conference calls, to many it looks like luck, but I envisioned it from the beginning and I shared that with my leaders and we all went through it together. And within our first 6 months, we're filling up hotel rooms because we worked together. Every Tuesday we met. And then every Saturday I met with leaders. Every Tuesday I met with everyone that joined. Because I unified, I used my imagination. When someone new came in, I remember what it was like to work in the corporate world. They unified. They'd send a message from the CEO welcoming me. So what did I do on my team? Anyone group that came into my team that joined, if I learned that we got a new team member, right? I got their email message. I sent them a private message from me. I pre-recorded an audio message welcoming them, letting them know that which night our meetings are, and brought them, make sure they got communicated what's going on, what our vision is for them and how much they can be making. And here's where it begins. Here's a link for how to understand the comp plan. Here's how you understand the rest. I had a welcome letter to everyone that came into my team. My leaders learned to do the same thing later on, but I had to start it. I saw it first. And we went from 3 people to hundreds to thousands in no time. Before you know it, winning a cruise to Alaska, winning plaques on the stage and honorary this, that, and the other. I couldn't believe it. All because of these 4 elements that I'm talking to you about, and you can do this. Imagination. You need invisible vision. You need to be able to see the invisible first. Then, after seeing the invisible, you need to, I'm going to go ahead and look at my notes. I made myself some notes because I get a little excited and I know we're getting close to ending, right? You have to be able to see the visible before it's visible. What's interesting is you have to cast the invisible vision for your team. So you see the invisible and then you have to cast it before your team members. And your team members are typically just your first few that you get in. They have to see it. The reason no one sticks with you long is they don't have anything from you. They don't have know what you're going to do. They just joined something. And you're expecting watch this now. You're expecting the provider to do your work for you. You're the company. You're the person they joined. And it's no different than going into CVS and recognizing that CVS, they sell Colgate toothpaste, but they're not Colgate. Colgate's just a provider. CVS sends email messages to their customers all the time, not Colgate. CVS tells you when they're selling it cheaper. What are you going to participate in your own business so you can create your own fortune? Cast the invisible vision before your team. Make sure they know it. Then, when you cast it, you have to make it visible because you need to color it. You need to, watch this now, you need to paint into real vividness the picture of what this invisible vision is. Let them see it. Let them imagine already that what you see for them in their first 2 months is getting up to $2,500, a minimum of $2,500 a month. And here's how it's going to happen. You're going to help them to get their 6. Who gets their 6? Then you're going to teach them how to train their leaders so they can have their own private meetings with their leaders. Create something that's duplicatable. Let them see and taste it as they start seeing money come in. They're like, oh, in this case, we only paid $140 something and then 40 something a month, but we're already making way more than that. We're already in profit mode and it's growing. Oh my gosh. You need to paint the picture vividly. And you can't do that if you don't see it yourself. You have to see it. That's why you have to communicate with yourself. This sets the stage for your entire team to see before it's here. When it gets there, they're not thinking luck. They're not thinking about the company, the provider. They're thinking about you and your vision. That's how you grow a championship team. Now, as you set the stage of this, you have the right communication. You've unified everyone together and you're using your imagination to help them to see it even more clearly and paint the picture so they can reach their milestones. You're now ready. And let me see what I have here. Now you're ready to build a team because now you've helped them to see the invisible. And when people can see the invisible, the aha comes on. I'll never forget what it was like when someone first sent me the opportunity, the plan for my plan. I didn't see it at first, but when I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do that. I get it. Oh my! And once I did, I got the aha. They painted the picture so I can see it. And I saw myself making an extra $250 a month because I didn't know any better. I had a great corporate job. But once I saw that, my brother showed me the thousands of dollars he was making a month. And I said, you can do it. I knew what? By the end of next year, I'll be making $20,000 to $30,000 a month too. I knew that without a doubt. But I didn't know it until he cast it. Once he set the stage and painted the picture, my upline, that was it. Done. When I saw his upline, who made over $90,000 already that year, and it wasn't even July yet, I'm like, oh, I'm done. I got this. Because that's all I needed to do. The reason your people do nothing and you complain about them is you don't cast a vision. You just want to complain that they're doing nothing. They're doing nothing because their CEO, which is you, is doing nothing. You want to make it better? Communicate, unify, and use your imagination to cast that vision. Then you're ready for this fourth element. As I prepare to close, implementation. It's really interesting. So many of you want to implement. You get started. The first you want to do is start implementing. You want to go start building a system and building a funnel. The real building begins with the human asset, right? They call that the intellectual capital. You need to work with people, and then you can apply the things. You need to implement first there. So interesting. You can't implement if you don't know what you have. First thing people want to do is they want to start building out systems and funnels before they work with their people. You need to know what you have. Know what you have. What is the product? What is the comp plan? How exactly does it work? What makes it not a scam? You got to know that first. Know that before you can start implementing. Then once you do that, you need to go ahead and you need to know who you have and what their strengths are. I've got 3 leaders. One of them is very, very articulate, speaks very well. Another one is really techie, and another one is well written. You put everyone to work to see this thing through. Cast that vision. I'd like to know, here's the idea I have for an email for our team. Every time somebody new comes in, I'm going to draft it. Could you clean it up for me? Because you're very well written and you spell right. Use everyone. You got the techie guy. I don't know if you are good at this. I don't know how to build these sites. Our company has their own page builder. That's not my thing. Can you figure it out and do it yourself? Do it for us? I want to get some things going for our team. You need to know what you have before you start implementing. Then, once you know what you have and you know who you have, now you can start working on that strategy. And that strategy can often help you to follow this course. Once you have, you've already cast the vision, and you set up these missions that you're going to use to get you there. Now you can work a strategy that includes only the things that get you closer. Then as you look and assess every week in what you're doing, anything that's not getting you closer, you have to eliminate. If something is just for routine and make somebody feel good, get rid of that junk and only keep the real stuff there that will get you closer to building that team. It's so interesting that many want to strategize and spend no time doing the research. You can't create a strategy unless you've done the homework. That's why I say you got to know what you have. What is it? What is it that gets you? How do you help your leaders to make $5,000 a month? What is that? Write out a strategy for it. You know how our comp plan works. Write it out. Then once you write it out, you help them to be able to get set up doing that. When they're making $5,000 a month, you're making $25,000 a month, 15 to 25. You got to understand that. You got to really work. You have to literally be unselfish in a self-interested way. That's going to work for everybody. You help them create a strategy that does that. And then anything that doesn't get you closer to that, don't make it a part of what you're doing. You can do this, but you can't do it without the right communication. You're not going to do it without unifying people together. And you certainly won't build a championship team without the imagination. And lastly, you will certainly, it's not possible without implementing. I'm fortunate. My people, I've been blessed. We've had some ups and downs in our business over the last 15 years. I love them all. We've had times when we've had our accounts frozen. We were frauded at $1.8 million in 2014. And we had some merchant accounts hold our money. Our employees, our team from around the world have worked with us even without pay. They believed in the vision so much. Because of the communication, I unified people around the same cause. And I shared with them that the imagination, what my imagination put together. And we implemented together business after business, product after product. Because of this, it works. Build your championship team so you can stop hopping around with the same non-producing people. And many of them are not producing because of you. Can you do this? Won't you do it? Normally, I would have been asking questions the entire time. I'm going to stop now. Any questions you have, let's do it in chat. What questions do you have? What comments? I know you can. If you can do it, type in the number 5. Let's chase this thing down together. Let's get to it. This is Dwayne Golden, sending all my love out to each of you. Yes, I'm feeling better. Got my nasal, the doctor said my nasal, whatever you call it, and some pills. And I don't have a fever, so she told me I don't have to go in and be tested unless my temperature spikes. So far, no temp. Anyway, let's get to it. Let me go ahead and check out what you guys are saying in chat. Let's do this. It's only Wednesday. By the end of the week, you guys can already be mastering the art of having a championship team and building the groundwork for it. Won't you give it a shot? This is Dwayne Golden. God bless you guys. We'll be talking here now in chat. And then afterwards, if there's anything else, you guys can email me too. All right, let me see what you're